So let's get started with the interview. For no one that knows about Linux OS, describe the importance of the operating system.
Well, you see, the advantage of Linux is that it can operate on a much wider range of hardware than most other operating systems. The software is actually like Unix. It's another software, but except it's free. The reason for becoming familiar with this operating system is to help save money, make life way more convenient, and to help one become more successful in a business. Linux is partially well suited for studying at home because, for one, you don't have to use equipment, and for two, it's a large amount of free, modestly priced study material that is available from bookstores and libraries and on the internet. So it's a good studying tool.
Alright, so I'm going to explain to you what happens when you turn on the computer. So, to start, you're going to have to know the difference between hardware and software. Hardware is anything physical about the computer, anything you can touch, anything that has to be put together. Software is more like the instructions, the programs that tell the computer what to do and how to function. So when you power on the computer, when you turn it on, these programs automatically start to go. They start checking everything of the computer. They make sure like everything's up and running, everything's operational. These programs are the instructions, so not only do they check everything, they also tell it what to do, what to power on, what interface to load up, etc. So some of the things that they may check would be like monitor display, peripheral systems, the external components, things like that. So when the computers turn on, it runs a post test, a power on self test, and that's what checks all these different components and makes sure that it's good to go.
So it seems like Linux has many advantages over its competitors.
Well, you see, Linux has a very good GUI. GUI is the graphic user interface. And this interface enables the user to select commands by pointing and clicking with a mouse or other pointing device by tapping with a finger. This thing right here, yeah? With the type of interface, the keyboard is used primarily for data entry. The good thing about this is a family of open source operating systems, which means they can be modified and distributed by anyone around the world. So if you have friends around the world, you can share it. And the advantages of Linux are that it's free, and there are many different distributions or versions you can choose from, so you can customize it in your own creative way. Alright, describe the task of the operating system.
All major activities of the operating system consist of various models, and it interacts directly with the underlying hardware. Special functions or programs used by the operating system and application programs or system utilities access its features. Okay.
Alright, talk about the different parts of the hardware system.
Last guy, he talked a lot. So, first, bootloader. That's part of the system that is executed first. It helps you turn everything on and stuff and choose when you want to start and what you want to start. The kernel, it's like the central component of the system. It allows you to go to do stuff in your hard disk space, and it helps programs to start running on the computer. And then the daemons are it takes care of things like your network connection and your USB drive, and your logins and managing files, etc. Yeah. And the shell, it just puts a textual interface that allows you to run programs, that helps you run programs and stuff.
Give an overview of the versions of Linux. Well, Linux doesn't really use versions like Apple or Android. It uses distributions, which are like a completely different computer in itself. So while there's hundreds of these different distributions, none of them are the same. They all act differently and they all operate differently, but they all do the same thing. So, for example, there's a distribution called Linux Mint that's good for learning how the computer operates if you're not so educated on that. There's Kali Linux, recommended for coding or hacking, any type of that thing. Ubuntu Mate is good for older and out-of-date computers. So these distributions, there's hundreds of them, and they all are different from one another, but they all do the same thing. It gives you more of a personalized feel to your computer. It gives you more freedom as a user.